They tell you the end is imminent. They repeat endlessly that we are living in the final part of the last days. Their message to you is unmistakable. Don't accumulate treasures on earth, simplify your life, sell what you have, and preach, because Armageddon is right at the door. But while millions of faithful members give up careers, homes, and retirement savings waiting for the end of the world, the organization's leadership is doing exactly the opposite. If the system is about to collapse any moment now, why is the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society investing billions of dollars in massive real estate developments designed to operate for decades into the future? Why are they building state-of-the-art media production facilities that rival Hollywood studios? And why, after selling over $2 billion worth of premium Brooklyn real estate, are they still pressuring their members, including children, to donate their last coins? Today, we're following the money. We're investigating what they don't show you on JW Broadcasting, the Ramapo Project, the silent wave of Kingdom Hall sales sweeping across the globe, and the transformation of a religious movement into one of the most sophisticated corporate real estate empires in the world. This is the story of a religion that preaches the end of civilization while quietly building the infrastructure for a media dynasty that has no intention of going anywhere. Welcome to the investigation that Watchtower doesn't want you to see. The $2 billion Brooklyn Exodus. To understand where this organization is headed, we first need to understand where it came from, and what they left behind. For nearly a century, the skyline of Brooklyn Heights was defined by an iconic red neon sign. The word Watchtower blazed across the waterfront, visible from the Brooklyn Bridge and the towers of Lower Manhattan. This was the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses, a sprawling complex of buildings that had grown piece by piece since the organization moved from Pittsburgh in 1909. The Watchtower didn't just occupy Brooklyn Heights, they owned it. At their peak, they controlled over 36 separate properties in the area, including converted hotels, massive printing facilities, and residential buildings that housed thousands of volunteer workers. These properties sat on some of the most valuable real estate in America, with stunning views of the Manhattan skyline and direct access to Brooklyn Bridge Park. Then, starting around 2011, everything changed. The organization announced it would be relocating its world headquarters to a remote location in Warwick, New York, about an hour north of the city. What followed was one of the largest religious real estate liquidations in American history. Property after property went on the market. The former Squibb Pharmaceuticals building, purchased in 1969 for just $3 million, sold in 2016 for $340 million. The partnership that bought it included Jared Kushner's real estate company, and they've since transformed it into a tech hub called Panorama. The iconic Watchtower sign is gone forever. But that was just one sale. According to New York City Finance Department records, the total value of Watchtower's Brooklyn Heights and Dumbo property sales exceeded $2 billion. Some estimates suggest it could be even higher, as not all transactions may have been publicly documented. Think about that number for a moment. $2 billion. From a non-profit religious organization that doesn't practice tithing, claims it doesn't solicit donations, and tells its members that accumulating material wealth is spiritually dangerous. The properties have found new purposes. The Standish at 171, Columbia Heights became a luxury condominium building where actor Matt Damon reportedly purchased the penthouse for nearly $17 million. Other buildings have been converted to student housing, tech offices, and upscale residential complexes. Where did all that money go? Part of the answer lies in the rolling hills of upstate New York, where the organization has constructed two massive new facilities. The first is in Warwick, a sprawling headquarters campus with office buildings, residential units for approximately 800 staff members, and elaborate landscaping including a lake with remote-controlled environmental systems. The second is in Paterson, which serves as an education and training center with facilities for hosting conventions and special programs. But that still doesn't account for $2 billion. And it certainly doesn't explain why an organization that supposedly expects the world to end any day now would be planning something even bigger, a project that won't be fully operational until the end of this decade. Ramapo, a media empire for the apocalypse. If the Warwick headquarters represented the organization's administrative ambitions, the Ramapo Project reveals something far more significant: their plans to become a major player in global media production. Located in the town of Ramapo in Rockland County, New York, this isn't a simple administrative facility. It's a full-scale audio-video production center, designed to create content that will be distributed to the organization's approximately 9 million members worldwide. The scale of this project is staggering. According to the final environmental impact statement accepted by the Ramapo Town Board, the development plan includes over 1,700,000 square feet of construction. That's not a typo, nearly 2 million square feet. The facilities will include state-of-the-art production studios for video and audio recording, post-production facilities, set construction workshops, office spaces, and residential accommodations for up to 1,240 residents living in 645 units. The organization purchased the land back in 2009 for $11.5 million. It was originally intended for a senior citizen housing development that never materialized. Now it's being transformed into what will essentially be a religious media production campus rivaling facilities used by major entertainment companies. The project received site plan approval in June 2023, with major construction commencing after final approval in November 2024. Site work began in early 2025, with crews already moving over 133,000 cubic meters of material, the equivalent of 54 Olympic-sized swimming pools worth of earth, to prepare the foundations. But here's where the contradiction becomes impossible to ignore. The construction timeline for this project extends well into the future. Phase 2, which covers site preparation and infrastructure, has an estimated duration of 18 months. Phase 3, the actual building construction, landscaping, and finishing, has an estimated duration of 38 months. Do the math, and you're looking at a project that won't be fully operational until somewhere around 2029 or 2030. Let that sink in. An organization that has spent over a century telling its members that Armageddon is imminent, that the end could come at any moment, is building a media production facility that won't even be finished for another 4 years. And this isn't cheap construction. The project has received recognition for its environmental design, including a $1 million grant from the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority as part of their Buildings of Excellence competition. The facilities will include geothermal heating and cooling systems with a massive bore field, over 120,000 square feet of solar panels, a 5-megawatt utility-grade battery storage system as part of an on-site microgrid, and electric vehicle charging stations for 30% of the parking spaces. The project will also include a visitor center open to the public, offering Bible-related exhibits and information about the activities of Jehovah's Witnesses. A public walking trail will run parallel to the former Sterling Mine Railroad corridor. The landscape master plan includes over 9,000 new trees, more than 26,000 new shrubs, and extensive natural areas. This is not the behavior of an organization expecting divine intervention any day now. This is the behavior of a corporation planning to dominate religious media for decades to come. Before Ramapo, there was Warwick. Understanding this facility helps explain the organization's trajectory. The Watchtower's current world headquarters sits on a 250-acre site in Orange County, New York. The complex opened in 2016 and serves as the nerve center for a global religious organization with operations in over 240 countries and territories. The facilities include multiple office buildings, residence buildings for staff, dining facilities, recreation areas, and extensive grounds. The campus was designed with environmental sustainability in mind and features modern architecture with scenic views of the surrounding Hudson Valley landscape. Approximately 800 Jehovah's Witnesses live and work at the Warwick facility. Like workers at other Watchtower facilities, they're members of a religious order called the Worldwide Order of Special Full-Time Servants. They receive no salary but are provided with housing, meals, health care, and a modest monthly stipend for personal expenses. The Warwick campus also houses the Watchtower Bible School of Gilead, which trains missionaries for international assignments, and the school for branch committee members and their wives. These educational programs prepare leadership for the organization's worldwide operations. Visitors can take guided tours of the facility, viewing the offices, learning about the organization's history, and seeing displays about their global activities. The organization reports that over 100,000 people visited their Brooklyn facilities annually before the move, and they expect similar or greater interest at Warwick. But while the facilities are impressive, some former members have raised questions about the contrast between the comfortable headquarters and the modest circumstances of many rank-and-file witnesses. The organization counsels members to live simply, avoid materialism, and prioritize spiritual activities over career advancement. Yet the leadership operates from a modern campus with amenities that most members could never afford in their personal lives. This disparity becomes even more pronounced when we examine what's happening to local kingdom halls around the world. While billions flow toward these megaprojects in upstate New York, the experience for ordinary Jehovah's Witnesses around the world tells a very different story. In 2014, congregations in the United States received significant news through a letter read at Kingdom Halls across the country. The organization was implementing what they called a resolution regarding Kingdom Hall ownership and finances. Under this new arrangement, all Kingdom Hall properties, buildings that had been constructed with the labor and donations of local congregation members, would be transferred to centralized organizational control. But that wasn't all. Even congregations that had fully paid off their mortgages, buildings that members had worked years to finance, were now expected to make ongoing monthly donations to headquarters. And any funds exceeding $5,000 in local accounts were to be transferred to the organization for use elsewhere. For many witnesses, this felt like a significant change. They had poured years of work and thousands of dollars into their local Kingdom Halls, only to have ownership transferred away and be told they needed to keep sending money even after their debts were cleared. Then came the sales. In country after country, reports emerged of Kingdom Halls being sold, often regardless of local preferences. Congregations were merged, sometimes forcing elderly members to travel significantly longer distances to attend meetings. And the proceeds from these sales? They didn't stay with the local community. They went straight to organizational headquarters. A report from Jamaica documented multiple Kingdom Hall properties being listed for sale, with the organization citing the need for cost-saving measures. Kingdom Halls on prime real estate in Kingston and St. Andrew were put on the market as the organization consolidated into smaller, less expensive facilities. In the United Kingdom, the International Bible Students Association announced plans to sell 29 properties in Mill Hill, northwest London, as part of a major consolidation effort. This included significant assets like Watchtower House and IBSA House. The goal was to centralize operations in a new purpose-built facility in Chelmsford, Essex, which was dedicated in May 2024 with over 1,500 attendees. The UK consolidation provides a fascinating window into the organization's financial operations. According to public financial statements from the International Bible Students Association, one of the Watchtower's UK legal entities, significant financial transfers were made to other organizational branches worldwide. In 2018, IBSA transferred £8 million to the German branch. Meanwhile, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Britain transferred an additional £8.5 million to the same German headquarters in Selters. Why Germany? The European branch has received substantial infusions of cash from branches around the world, suggesting a strategic consolidation of financial resources in that jurisdiction. In November 2019, the UK's Kingdom Hall Trust announced that all UK congregations would dissolve their status as individual charities and become branches of the centralized trust. This gave headquarters unprecedented control over local funds and properties across England, Scotland, and Wales. The pattern is global. From Pennsylvania to Jamaica, from the UK to Australia, congregations are being consolidated, Kingdom Halls are being sold, and the proceeds are flowing upward to an organization that's simultaneously building billion-dollar media complexes. If this sounds like standard corporate asset management, that's because it is. The question is whether that's appropriate behavior for a religious organization that tells its members to reject worldly materialism. Against this backdrop of billion-dollar real estate deals and massive construction projects, the organization's approach to rank-and-file donations becomes particularly interesting. In May 2015, governing body member Stephen Lett appeared on JW Broadcasting with an unusual message. The organization, he acknowledged, was experiencing a shortfall in funds. Members were urged to donate their valuable things to help bridge the gap. This appeal might seem unremarkable for a religious organization, except that the Watchtower has historically prided itself on never soliciting donations. Their founder, Charles Taze Russell, explicitly stated that if Jehovah was backing the organization, there would never be a need to beg or petition for money. As early as 1899, the Watchtower magazine stated, "We have never considered it proper to solicit money for the Lord's cause, after the common custom. It is our judgment that money raised by the various begging devices in the name of our Lord is offensive, unacceptable to him." That principle appears to have quietly evolved. Today, Kingdom Halls feature multiple contribution boxes. The organization's website provides extensive information about various ways to donate, including automatic monthly payments via credit card, and members can donate through apps, name the organization in their wills, deed property, or designate it as a beneficiary on life insurance policies. But perhaps the most striking example of the organization's fundraising evolution came in a video released for their 2015 regional conventions. The video features Sophia, one of the child characters from the organization's Become Jehovah's Friend animated series. In the video, Sophia is sitting in a kingdom hall, holding a coin. She daydreams about buying an ice cream cone after the meeting, a simple pleasure that most children would take for granted. But then Sophia sees her mother putting money in the contribution box. Her thoughts turn to images of kingdom halls being built, literature being printed, and Bethel facilities. She makes her decision. Instead of buying that ice cream, she puts her coin in the contribution box for Jehovah's worldwide work. The message is clear. Children should consider giving their small allowances to the organization rather than spending them on treats. For former members, this video crystallized something troubling. Children raised as Jehovah's Witnesses already experience significant restrictions compared to their peers. No birthday parties, no Christmas presents, no Halloween costumes. Hours spent attending meetings, studying Watchtower literature, and participating in door-to-door preaching. Small pleasures like ice cream cones represent rare moments of normalcy. And now the organization was using animated content to encourage those children to give up even those small treats. A letter to UK congregations in December 2015 praised two children who donated money that had been intended for a circus trip. The implication was clear. Children who sacrifice their small pleasures for the organization are to be celebrated and emulated. The broader context makes this pressure particularly striking. At the same time this video was being shown at conventions, the organization was sitting on billions of dollars in real estate assets and receiving over $2 billion from Brooklyn property sales. They were building modern headquarters facilities in Warwick. And they were planning the massive Ramapo media complex. Yet they were encouraging children to donate their pocket money. For decades, Jehovah's Witnesses have been taught to live simply. Official publications repeatedly encourage members to avoid accumulating material possessions, to resist the temptation of higher education that might lead to lucrative careers, and to keep their lives unencumbered so they can devote maximum time to preaching. The 1969 Awake magazine famously stated, "If you are a young person, you also need to face the fact that you will never grow old in this present system of things. Therefore, as a young person, you will never fulfill any career that this system offers." This counsel had real consequences. Generations of witness children were discouraged from pursuing higher education. The organization's publications warned that college was a spiritually dangerous environment that could lead young people away from the faith. Better to pioneer, spend full-time hours in door-to-door ministry, than to waste time on an education for a world that wouldn't exist much longer anyway. The results of this counsel are measurable. According to Pew Research data, Jehovah's Witnesses have among the lowest levels of higher education attainment of any major religious group in America. They also have among the lowest household incomes, with a disproportionate percentage earning less than $30,000 annually. These members, many of whom limited their earning potential based on organizational counsel, are now being asked to donate generously to an organization with a multi-billion-dollar real estate portfolio. Meanwhile, the governing body lives at the Warwick headquarters, a campus that includes extensive grounds, a scenic lake, modern office buildings, and comfortable residential accommodations. Members of the governing body are provided with housing, meals, health care, and a stipend. They travel internationally for speaking engagements, staying in accommodations arranged by local branches. The contrast becomes even more striking when you examine the organization's real estate operations. The Watchtower employs sophisticated strategies typical of major corporate entities. They purchase properties through subsidiary corporations, maintain extensive legal departments, employ professional real estate negotiators, and time their sales to maximize returns. When they sold the Brooklyn properties, they secured top-dollar prices from major developers. This is not the behavior of a humble religious organization focused solely on spiritual matters. This is the behavior of a sophisticated corporate enterprise that understands the value of capital and knows how to maximize returns on investment. And yet the message to ordinary members remains unchanged. Simplify your life, give generously, and trust that the end is near. Beneath the surface of the organization's public confidence lies a more complicated reality. The raw numbers might seem encouraging at first glance. As of 2025, the organization reports approximately 9 million active publishers, members who regularly participate in preaching activities, with about 300,000 new baptisms per year. The 2024 service year showed a 2.4% increase, the highest in recent years. But dig deeper, and the picture becomes more nuanced. Since 1995, the rate of growth in developed countries has been declining steadily. In the United States, annual growth hovers around 1%, barely above the population growth rate, despite members reporting over 250 million hours of preaching annually. The number of preaching hours required for each baptism has more than doubled since 1990, from around 3,500 hours to over 7,000 hours today. In many developed countries, the ratio of witnesses to the general population is actually falling. In Australia, for example, there was one witness for every 294 people in 1998. By 2024, that had fallen to 1 in 384. The organization also has what researchers identify as an unusually high turnover rate. Studies indicate that a significant percentage of people raised as Jehovah's Witnesses eventually leave the faith. Between baptisms and departures, whether through death, formal removal, or simply walking away, the net growth represents only about half of annual baptisms. Where is the growth coming from? Increasingly, from the developing world. In 2025, 45% of global baptisms occurred in Africa, with 30% coming from just 5 countries: Nigeria, Democratic Republic of Congo, Angola, Ghana, and Mozambique. These are nations where the organization's door-to-door preaching remains effective and where internet access that might provide alternative information is more limited. This geographic shift has implications for the organization's finances. Members in developing countries generally have far less to donate than their counterparts in wealthy Western nations. Yet the organization continues to build expensive infrastructure in New York while closing branches and consolidating operations elsewhere. The membership data also reveals interesting dynamics around major events. There were spikes in preaching activity after the September 11, 2001 attacks and the 2008 global financial crisis. These surges appear to represent not new conversions but previously inactive members re-engaging out of concern that significant world events might signal the approaching end. Notably, the COVID-19 pandemic, despite being presented by some as evidence of the last days, did not produce a similar boom. In fact, average publishers dropped in 2020 for the first time in over 40 years. The organization's switch to remote meetings and letter-writing campaigns apparently failed to compensate for the loss of in-person door-to-door work. The combination of aging membership in developed countries, difficulty retaining young people, and increasing reliance on regions with less disposable income suggests an organization navigating significant long-term challenges, even as it invests billions in infrastructure designed for decades of operation. The organization's operations have attracted increasing scrutiny from governments around the world. In December 2022, Norway became the first country to strip Jehovah's Witnesses of their status as a registered religious community. The decision was based primarily on concerns about the organization's practices regarding members who leave, particularly the policy of cutting off social contact with former members. Under Norwegian law, religious communities can lose government funding if they engage in practices deemed harmful to members. Norwegian authorities concluded that the organization's policies in this regard met that threshold, particularly when applied to young people. The organization appealed this decision, and the case made its way through the Norwegian court system. The Supreme Court of Norway was scheduled to hear arguments in early 2026, making this one of the most significant legal tests the organization has faced regarding its core practices. In apparent response to this pressure, the organization announced changes to some of its policies in 2024. Members were told they could now offer simple greetings to those who had left the organization, a modest relaxation of previous stricter guidelines. The financial implications of regulatory decisions could be significant. If other European countries follow Norway's lead, the organization could face loss of tax-exempt status and religious registration across multiple jurisdictions. This may help explain the apparent movement of funds to the German branch, where the organization appears to be consolidating significant financial resources. France has also subjected the organization to scrutiny, with ongoing questions about tax status and organizational practices. In various countries, the Watchtower's legal entities have faced challenges to their charitable status and tax exemptions. These regulatory challenges add another dimension to understanding the organization's financial strategy. The consolidation of assets, the movement of funds between branches, and the investment in permanent infrastructure in favorable jurisdictions all make more sense when viewed against this backdrop of increasing international scrutiny. Why is the organization investing so heavily in media production at Ramapo? The answer may lie in their assessment of where future growth will come from, and how to retain the members they have. Traditional door-to-door preaching has become increasingly ineffective in developed countries. Conversion rates have declined even as hours invested have increased. The Internet has made it easy for potential recruits to research any organization before committing, and the results of such research aren't always favorable to the Watchtower. Video content, on the other hand, can be carefully controlled. JW Broadcasting, launched in 2014, allows the governing body to communicate directly with members worldwide through monthly programs featuring talks, music videos, interviews, and dramatizations. The content is professionally produced and consistently reinforces organizational messaging. The Ramapo facility would dramatically expand this capability. With professional-grade production facilities, the organization could create feature-length films, documentary series, and educational content rivaling mainstream media productions. They could produce content in dozens of languages simultaneously, targeting specific demographics and regions. This approach serves multiple purposes. For members, high-quality media content reinforces organizational loyalty and provides alternatives to outside entertainment. For potential recruits in regions with limited internet access, professional videos distributed through congregations can be more persuasive than door-to-door presentations. For children, animated content like the Caleb and Sophia series creates early emotional connections to organizational messaging. The media strategy also helps control information. When criticism appears online, the organization can counter with polished video content presenting their perspective. When members raise questions, they can be directed to official videos rather than outside sources. In essence, the Ramapo Project represents the organization's bet on its future, a future where growth comes not primarily from traditional evangelism but from sophisticated media production targeted at both retention of current members and recruitment in specific global regions. This is a decidedly long-term bet, one that makes little sense if you genuinely believe the world is ending any day now. Throughout this investigation, one question keeps emerging. How do we reconcile what the organization teaches with what it does? Consider the evidence. They tell members that Armageddon is imminent, that there's no point in planning for a future in this system. Yet they're building facilities designed for decades of operation. They counsel members to live simply and avoid accumulating wealth. Yet they've assembled a multi-billion-dollar real estate portfolio and employ sophisticated financial strategies. They encourage children to donate their pocket money. Yet they operate comfortable headquarters with amenities most members could never afford. The simplest explanation is that the organization is doing what any large institution does, planning for continuity while maintaining the messaging that keeps members engaged. The end may be coming, someday, but in the meantime, there are facilities to build, properties to manage, and organizational challenges to navigate. The Ramapo Project, the Kingdom Hall consolidations, the fundraising emphasis, these aren't necessarily contradictions. They're the practical necessities of running a large organization while maintaining the apocalyptic narrative that has defined it for over a century. In the religion's earliest days, founder Charles Taze Russell pointed to 1914 as a significant date. When that year passed differently than expected, the date was reinterpreted. His successor, Joseph Rutherford, proclaimed that millions now living will never die, a statement made to people who are now all deceased. Expectations about 1925 and 1975 similarly required reinterpretation after the fact. Each time, the organization adjusted its understanding while maintaining its fundamental message. The end is near, stay faithful, keep preaching, keep supporting the work. Over a century of adjusted expectations hasn't diminished the urgency of the message. But it has apparently taught the leadership to plan practically. They'll keep telling members that Armageddon could come any day. But they'll also keep building for a future that looks remarkably like the present, just with better production facilities. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus warns that no one can serve two masters. You cannot serve God and money. The Watchtower organization has built its identity around this principle, constantly reminding members to keep their eyes simple, to avoid the snare of riches, to trust in divine provision. They point to their volunteer workforce, their free literature, their lack of professional paid clergy as evidence that they're different from other religious organizations. But the evidence tells a more complex story. This is an organization that sold $2 billion in Brooklyn real estate while encouraging children to give up their ice cream money. An organization that closed kingdom halls and consolidated congregations while building media facilities that won't be complete until the end of the decade. An organization that counsels members to avoid higher education and live simply while employing sophisticated corporate strategies to maximize its institutional interests. The Ramapo Project stands as perhaps the clearest evidence of the tension. If the end is truly near, if Armageddon could come at any moment, why build a state-of-the-art media complex that won't be operational for years? The timeline suggests an organization that, whatever its stated beliefs, is planning for a future measured in decades, not days. As congregations are merged and elderly members travel further to attend meetings, as properties built with volunteer labor are sold and the proceeds sent to headquarters, as children are encouraged to donate their small coins while leadership operates from comfortable facilities, the questions multiply. Where is the money going? Who benefits from these decisions? And why does an organization expecting the end of the world need a media production campus that won't be finished until 2030? The organization doesn't encourage these questions. They don't highlight the financial details, the construction timelines, or the gap between the counsel given to members and the strategies employed by leadership. But the evidence is there for anyone willing to look. The public records, the financial statements, the construction permits, the property sales, they tell a story that's worth examining. The Ramapo Project will eventually be completed. The media content will be produced. The organization will continue its work in regions where it's still growing. And the message will remain the same: the end is near, give generously, trust the leadership. Just don't ask why an organization expecting the end of the world is planning for 2030 and beyond.